Hey guys, welcome back. Karl at Slick Rooster Studio. I wanted to do a little more in-depth review of these Kalour watercolor pencils. I did the unboxing along with the Nick Pro watercolor brushes, um, but I didn't do a whole lot with them. I just sort of compared them to other brands, and I want to kind of look at these and do a little more. Try to play with them. They are such a great deal for this number of watercolors and this quality of package. Uh, it's just a fantastic deal for 28.99. But they have, they've got their issues with the hard leads, the pigmentation feeling kind of weak, the washes not not feeling liquid enough, if that makes sense. Um, and I mentioned in the other video that these felt a lot like the Arteza, and I did compare the pencils. They behave exactly like the Arteza pencils, and so I went ahead and dug out my 120 set of Arteza expert watercolor pencils, so we could look at them side by side, and they are they're identical. I mean, there's a couple of little things like the back of this box has three hinges cut into it, and the back of this box has two hinges. Um, it's little stuff like that, but as far as the trays inside the box, they are the same except for uh, the little finger detents on the Arteza ones are a little smaller. The black ones are just a little bigger. The red ones are smaller. But the trays flop back and forth. Each one of the trays holds 24. Just gonna get rid of these for now. Um, they both have the color chart in the lid, and the colors are very similar. The names are not, nor yeah, the numbers are different as well. Uh, the When I was talking on the other video too, I mentioned that a lot of these sets don't have enough yellows. A lot more yellows and light oranges in the Kalour box, which I'm real happy about. Um, that would sell it for me right there. Uh, but you can go through and pick out the colors that are real similar. This one's called ginger yellow, and this one's called sapphire yellow. It's just proprietary naming. I haven't. I went through. I was surprised. I saw it when I got this box. I went through and separated all of the colors out into their color families, and that's why you see this going from yellow to orange to red, and follows all the way through. Ooh, about dumped those all over the place. Uh, yeah, I got those out of order. Uh, so the red to violet to blue, and then from blue to green into the earth colors. When I got the Arteza set, it was the same as the Kalours. It was a mixed bag of crazy. So, and that's a chore. It's fun to do. I find it kind of therapeutic when I'm with a set of 48 or 72 to go through and kind of OCD the colors into the way I like them. I don't know if I have the energy to do another 120 set with these guys. Um, it's a lot of pencils to use, especially watercolor pencils. Like with colored pencils, it's not unheard of at all to use five different shades of yellow for gradients and things. Um, but for watercolor, at least the way I do watercolor, a couple of yellows, a couple of reds, a couple of blues, several earths, some nice, earth greens. Uh, if I'm going to do a landscape, that sort of a thing. So, anyways, back to the comparison of these two. Um, they say the same stuff. It's 120 unique colors, 120 unique and vibrant colors, water soluble, 4 mil lead, break resistant, blendable. Oh, these are blendable, highly pigmented. Acid free. These ones say non-toxic right there. This one is certified AP. Um, I don't know, man. They seem so similar. These boxes. I mean, even the bottom. Um, it's rolled the same. It's the same box. I swear. Uh, and again, they're just reiterating the same stuff on the back. Um, yeah, this is. I believe they're the same from the same company. These guys are in based out of Houston, Texas. These guys are in Wilmington, Delaware. Uh, oh, that's that is interesting. So this is copyright 2020 Kalour Fine Art Studio. Um, this is copyright 2019 Arteza LLC. Kalour says we will take legal actions against any infringement or unauthorized reproduction or any portion of it. A year after Arteza's copyright, so that's a little comical actually. Um, I don't know what there's. It's Chinese. It's China. Trying to enforce patent law in China is it's a wild kingdom over there for that kind of stuff. They get away with murder. Uh, American companies go there and say, "Hey, make a bunch of this stuff on the cheap. Here's the design," and they say, "Sure," and they make it and deliver, and then they take that design and duplicate it, and then flood the market with 17 different name brands, Arteza, Kalour, and that's across all industries. It's there's some, yeah, just ethics in Chinese manufacturing are insane. It takes a lot of money to fight those patent infringements internationally like that. That's a that's a whole different discussion. I don't know all that much about it. I just know that there's clearly an issue when something gets knocked off in China and sells they're being sold as counterfeit here, even on Amazon. Uh, you'll see that sort of behavior, and it comes down to greedy people. Uh, their need to make money trumps their ethics, I guess. But whatever. Um, so I'm gonna put these away. The Going through and looking at the colors and comparing, I found it's almost one for one duplication of colors. The names are different. I mean, this set's got coyote brown. What is that supposed to be? And it's not what you would think it would be. Uh, you know, I like the colors in Arteza. I just wish the formulation was better. And I imagine I'm going to feel the same way about these. But I do want to go through and pick out a subset of these, maybe 12 or 15 pencils, pull them out of the set, and do something real with them. Uh, yeah. So I'm gonna stop here, and so you don't have to watch me filter through 5 trays, dumping them all over the place, and saying bad words, and and I'll get this taken care of, and then we'll start off on doodling and doing some painting, and maybe doing some mixed media stuff with these. Yeah. All right, I will be back. Well, immediately for you. All right, I'm back instantaneously. Actually, it's the next day for me. I sorted through the pencils. I got the 15 that I want to use. Man, there's so many colors in there that are so close to each other that I mean, I could probably pick out 6 or 8 sets of these and same range of colors. This is going to be tilted a little more towards landscape stuff. Um, Several of the yellows are really pale. I'm not sure why. At any rate, I'm going to relax and draw out maybe some. Yeah, I might swatch these out real quick, uh, just so you can kind of see what they're looking like. And then I'm just going to make a little ACEO and see how it goes. Just take my time. I've been kind of experimenting a little bit with them, and I do like the way. Well, like I said, you just have to get used to your tools. So yeah, we'll just wing it and start playing around. This I'm using. Tell me. I'm using Arteza Mixed Media Pad Premium, not Expert Premium. I'm using, yeah, these aren't Expert pencils, so I should be okay. It's 110 pound Arteza Mixed Media paper. I think I have 8, maybe 10 different brands of mixed media paper that I'll eventually do a review on, a comparison. And out of all of them, oddly enough, the Arteza, I really like this the best. It's really performs well. As far as buckling, and it's a real tough paper. I like that. I like the texture a lot. It's got some tooth to it. There's a couple of them that are really smooth. It's almost like trying to draw on cardstock, and it doesn't pull enough material off of dry media like pencils and things. So I really like this paper. So that's what we're using. All right, so I will just swatch some things out. I really hate, man, I hate the word swatch as a verb, but eh, I know it's valid. It just sticks in my craw, and yet here I am saying it myself. I also get irritated. Wow, snap! There goes the tip of that. I get irritated when I'm watching YouTube videos and people are like, hey guys." Oh, it just I'm weird that way. I'm not being any. It's not very. I don't care about these swatches. I don't care what they look like. It's just more of a quick and dirty that you can see what we're working with. Yep, there goes the tip of that one too. That one did that to me earlier. Oh no, this one did that. Sorry, I'm not. When I'm working, I'm not gonna fill up the airspace with a bunch of dribble. Sorry, if I don't have anything to say, I just paint. Normally, I would. It's really pale. Normally, I'd just be doing this without worrying about the microphone and speed it up to 8 by. But I want to start doing, or at least practice doing, product reviews where I'm talking while I'm doing stuff, because the multitask factor of making a video and talking at the same time is a skill. I'm very impressed now that I know how hard it is to make content, and uh, I'm impressed with a lot of people that before I kind of just took it for granted that they were able to engage with the audience while they're actively doing something that's mostly intelligent. Um, so yeah, I need more practice doing that, public speaking, and my dad and I were laughing. We both have a tendency to say, well, I'm sure I picked it up from him. I'll blame him. It's his fault. We say and 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 it's we fill up our dead airspace with that, and I've really been trying to be conscious of it, but I also notice that I say, at any rate, a lot of cliche things come out of my mouth when I really hate the term. It is what it is. That is one of my just. I hate that. It's like a cop out. Oh, your your car just came into the shop. We fixed it. It's still not running right, but it is what it is. Well, yeah, it is broken, and you are gonna fix it. So there's no. It is what it is, and we just give up. That's what. That's not a thing. No. Yeah, catchphrases and things. I see why they catch on, why people say them. Uh, I had a I had a job orientation once that I went to. It was like a 2-day deal. It was horrible. I won't say where, but uh, the HR lady had a terrible habit of saying and all that good stuff a lot, like 3 dozen times throughout the course of an 8-hour period. Uh, so yeah, at 4 hours in, it was pretty boring. I kind of started keeping track of how many times she was saying that, but it was a lot. So I'm going to write down what these are real quick. These are the Kalour watercolor pencils, set of 120. So, I mean, you can see they're anemic. They don't dissolve. Some of them don't dissolve real well. They leave the pencil marks. Uh, I mean, you can scrub it away, but then they sort of just disappear. The colors I've chosen are lemon yellow light here. This is lemon yellow. This one is cadmium yellow deep. The red is signal red. The magenta is Indian red, which is weird. Indian red I always kind of associate with like um, PR 101. I guess it's English red. And this one is, I don't know if I let you see it. Ultran Marine Light. sounds like a transformer. Ultran Marine. Autobots. Color stuff. Okay, this is indigo light. Uh, Teal green light. That's here. Dark green. Olive green. That's an awfully green olive green. Uh, Olive yellow. Deep ochre. Terracotta. A tan hue. What? That's a weird way to use the word hue. Um, it's not real tan. Well, yeah, it's a dark brown. And blue black, which is the kind of the closest one I could find. Their Payne's gray it looks more like what you would normally see as like Davies gray from Winsor and Newton. It's a super, it's almost like it's got white in it. It's just white and black. Whereas I always kind of associate Payne's gray to have a little bit of a blue tone, which is what that blue black has. So it makes a great shadow color. All right. So I'm gonna sharpen these ones that I broke. Uh, by the way, this is a Sunwood sharpener. Before I turn it around and start messing with it, I'm gonna empty it, where I make a mess all over the place. Uh, these sharpeners there's many different brands. These are fantastic. Uh, it's it's like the old ones we had in school that were mounted to the wall. As you spin the crank, it's not just like a razor blade that shaves around the pencil. It's a cylinder with like helical cutting blades on it. I don't know that we'd be able to. Oh yeah, I can get this. I can show that to you. I think you see inside of there. I'd have to get creative with a flashlight to show you. I see that spinning spiral blade. that it's not putting um well, what do you I don't remember my engineering. Uh it's not cutting around the edge, it's shear cutting. So as it's spinning, it's much easier on the pencil, so you're not snagging the lead and breaking it off. Uh, Really good pencil sharpener. They're really cheap. I ended up buying four of them, and I got a really good deal on them. Uh, and they come with other brand names. This is again is a Chinese product. They're probably all modeled off of a $50 one that's made in America or sold by Americans. Uh, it's a really good pencil sharpener. I At first I was like, how do you you know it doesn't it does it's hard to hold it. Well, this little doohickey here, oops, this is one thing I've noticed about it. It keeps losing these the little sticky feet on the bottom. And then I'm just gonna throw that away. I'm down to one. It's just like anti-slip cushions on there. Uh, but no matter where I put it, it just sort of sits there and loses them. You can see the sticky that's left over. I got one left. At some point, I'll probably just glue a piece of, that black shelf liner foam stuff on the bottom, just to have it, something non-slip on there. Um, okay, back to this little guy. It's as you pull that in, if you can see inside the hole, you see the little teeth there that they pull back, and then when you put the pencil in, you slide this thing out, and it's let me get the pencil out of there. It's spring loaded. Oops, I pulled it out too far. There we go. It's spring loaded, so it's constantly pulling this direction. So what it does is it grabs the pencil when you slide it out. So now it's got a grip on the pencil and it's putting pressure in. So it's pulling it into the blade so you don't have to physically shove it in there. Um, there's a real consistent inward pull. Man, I'm getting dust all over the place. And then as you sharpen it, based on the settings on the, I'm going to turn around where it's right side up. Come on, mirror itself. All right, see these settings, or I guess probably just look at the shape. Over here is the dullest um, setting. It's got a big flat point on it. Over here is super sharp. Um, so if I set it all the way out, it'll give me just a like stab yourself in the finger sharpness. I like to keep it about there. Um, so it pulls the pencil into this point, and then it hits a stop, and that's when you feel it stop sharpening. So as I sharpen, it's sharpening, sharpening, sharpening. Uh-oh, this is one of those ones where it keeps breaking. That'll suck that whole pencil through there. Um, I'll do that. Okay, so there we go. Once it gets to a certain sharpness, it stops pulling. It bumps against the stop there, and you only get it that sharp. Oh, that's why. Yeah, see how much shorter it is now? Um, I could have just chewed that thing all the way down. If you set it too sharp with a soft lead, the lead just keeps breaking on the tip, and so it just keeps sucking into the machine. And I've had that happen with every brand of color pencil I have, or even graphite pencils. So it's a function. If you got soft lead, it'll keep breaking if it's a real sharp point. So for a real soft lead, you would set this setting right here all the way to the dull side. So for these guys, it looks like the sweet spot is right there in the middle. So that's where I'll leave it. So if you don't have the money to get one of the real expensive, um, I'm doing it too. The real expensive electric sharpeners with the helical cylindrical blade on it. You don't want one of the electric ones with it looks just like a regular hand sharpener with just a single razor blade on it. You don't want one of those that goes around. I think Derwent is the one that I have, because it'll break your tips always with softer colored pencils. So if you can swing it, look around on Amazon. It's where I got this. Almost every time, unless you know if you don't catch it grinding away the whole pencil, uh, it's a perfect point. So yeah, you want the one that just it has these little ears on the top. You'll be able to see on the picture there'll be different color casing. Some of them are stainless, some are chrome, some are black, whatever. Um, but yeah, you pull that little thing out, let it go on the pencil. It sucks the pencil in, and you sharpen away without having to worry about it being mounted anywhere. Great little pencil sharpener. Um, so that was a tangent. All right, so here's our colors. I was playing around last night, just trying not to hurry. One of the frustrating things for me with these pens that they don't when you activate the pigment, it feels like it goes away. So you got to let it dry and then add another layer, add a different colored layer. Um, it becomes tedious, like what I feel colored pencil work is. Real good colored pencil artists, boy, they work hard. Uh, and this can, I mean, in order to make these work, you kind of have to. You can't just be lazy and lay down an outline and then paint a whole building or something with one outline. You got to work at it. You got to kind of plan. Um, so yeah, I was playing around last night with it and just having fun and relaxing. Uh, I like the texture of this paper a lot, and it takes water really well without buckling a lot. And when it does buckle, it tends to pull back together pretty good. Um, I mean, I've used quite a bit of it. You can see that it's not terribly warbly. And a lot of these pages, I've actually laid down ground uh, like acrylic paint on there. I've used gesso on it, and it comes back to shape pretty good. Um, yeah. So, and then now I can put oil paint on there. Uh, I think in this, yeah, in this book I did oil paint. This is Williamsburg. Their handmade oils. I did a test. This is gessoed inside of this rectangle here. You can kind of see the sheen where the oil is sitting on the gesso here. Works great, and here's where it's soaked into the paper around the edge. It's one of the things you don't want to do with oil on paper is just let it soak in there because it'll degrade the paper. So putting the gesso on there gave me a nice surface. They'll do some swatches, and then you leave it sit for 3 weeks like on a oil. So you can't obviously close the sketchbook. Uh, but it's pretty cool being able to put oil paint on just a mixed media. So this really is a good mixed media pad. I'm glad I got them. I got several of them, and you watch Arteza for their sales and things, and they're pretty good about coupons as well. Uh, so you can get a good deal on some things that they've got. They've been having trouble with their stock lately, I think. Oh, speaking of which, I went and checked what I paid for the Arteza 120 set of colored pencils. I paid $48.99 for that set. That is identical to this one, which was only $28.98, 99 cents. I just went and looked on Arteza's website. They've got the watercolor pencils back in stock, and they're now $68.99 for the 120 sets. So, I mean, you're saving $40 by buying these, the Kalour ones, as long as they stay that same price, the 28.99 on Amazon. So I ended up actually ordering another set of these just to have in the on the shelves, because I did after I played with these last night. I do like them. Uh, they work well. Um, the light fastness, I believe what I'll do with these is well, what I do with most of my uh, watercolors is cover it with a varnish. This one's got the ultraviolet light stabilizers. Uh, I use the gloss. I don't like the gloss, but the matte, any matte varnish is going to have solids in it, and it'll gray or ghost out your colors. So uh, once I seal it with a spray, fix it if it's water soluble like gouache or watercolors. I'll spray it with a fixative first, just to make sure that this water-based product doesn't smear the watercolor all over the place. So I'll put a coat of this stuff on, which then brings the sheen way up. It's like a, like a piece of glass sitting over the top of it. Excuse me. And then I'll use a matte varnish over the top of that. So I get the UVLS, and you can put several coats of this stuff on, and it's crystal clear. But it gives you the UVLS gives a little bit of solids, but that'll keep the light fastness protected as about as well as you can. Um, so yeah, that's one of the things that I do with my uh, watercolor paintings is give them a nice coat of varnish to protect them from, in case they are hanging on a wall where the sunshine comes around in the winter and is directly um, glaring on it. If they're not under like a UV protected glass or something. So for these, which I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fugitive colors in these pencils. I'm not that worried about creating works of art. You keep them in a. Most people who do ACEO collecting keep them in a zippered binder or something like that. Uh, that they're not always exposed to light. One of the things that I like about these pencils being kind of pigment anemic is that when you use them for sketching and then you paint over them, you can really get that line to almost completely go away. Now, with some watercolor pencils, you can get it to completely go away. These really like to stick in the in the paper. They're not as soluble as I believe they should be. Uh, that's my opinion. But I was able to work with them last night, and you have to do a little extra scrubbing. Hence, the tougher paper. I did go through my the face of watercolor papers that I was using with these. So they're definitely hard on across there. That they're hard on the paper that you use them on. 1 second here. I'm gonna get a drink of water. I'm talking myself hoarse. All right, so back to my tan hue. Another thing that I like about a watercolor pencil that's not so rich in pigment is I can draw out like this and keep it pretty pronounced, almost like a line and wash sort of a style, and still be able to wash it away or wash it into the look of the building. I'm just winging it here, drawing something. Um, we'll make this a door that opens out. a little lower than this other one over here. You know, keeping in mind all the floors and the design of a building sometimes is it gets away from me and I'm not paying attention. So this is going to have a chimney back there, and it's going to have vent pipe there. The sun is going to be coming from that direction. Keep it simple. I draw a lot of the same thing. That way, when I'm doing things like this, I don't have to think so much. Shadow under the eave, shadow under the deck fascia, or whatever you want to call it there. Here, this is I'm using this blue-black now for my dark shadows that I'm going to be coloring in. Sharpen this edge up a little bit and give it some. This will be a rusty corrugated steel roof. Give it a little sag in the middle, as these types of roofs so often do. Dark shadow on the backside of the chimney. Shadow underneath the eaves on the build out on the back. Let's take this real dark inside of that doorway, and this one as well. That door we'll put a doorknob on it, put some shadow in where the sun would be blocked out. I wish I hadn't done that. Those windows should have been like a sky color, a reflection of the sky that's coming in, but this is realistically, this is just a doodle. Uh, and almost invariably when I say, okay, I'm just going to doodle, it turns out well enough that I'm like, crap, I should, you know, make this, should have done this on some real paper or something. Not that this isn't real paper, it's acid free and archival, but it's pulp paper. It's not, you know, cotton, nice cotton rag. So now I've got an overhanging eave out there that's a little too long. I think what I'll do is scrub off this line here. And I'm going to extend that building to correct my aggressive overhang there. Yeah, that'll work. And that makes it, I mean, by taking it out farther, it makes it so there's not another window here, and it breaks up the symmetry. A lot of times I forget, I get OCD, and I like to make sure everything lines up and there's an even number of things. And you know, with artwork, there's the rule of odds. You know, where don't make something in twos or fours, make them in fives and sevens and threes. It's more interesting to the eye to not have everything like resolve into an even number. Um, same thing with shapes. Don't make three trees the same size. Make one tiny, one big, and one medium size. You know, like the three bears. It's more visually interesting. I struggle. My OCD side, my engineering mind struggles with that concept a lot. Yeah, we're just gonna make all of these 4 light windows. And we're coloring them all in dark because this is an old building and nobody's in there. And it's quicker. Pencil's starting to get a little dull. when you're, it probably doesn't need to be a tutorial for how to use colored pencils, but rather than sharpen your pencils to death all the time, when it starts, you wear a flat spot on the one side, you can rotate the pencil, you know, well, if I'm coloring like this, now I've got no definition. Um, so now that I've broken the tip off, I'll use, these little sharp angly parts that are there. What I was going to say is when you rotate it around, you've now got a sharp area where you can make detailed lines again until that gets flat. But yeah, the breaking lead helped us to find an opportunity to be creative. All right. I think I'm at the point now. You know what? We're going to make that a red door just because red doors are fun. I'm going to wait to do that until after I do the initial wash here. So I am going to work on the light side of the building first. Sunlight's going to be coming from this direction here. Boy, a brown sun, everybody loves that. I'm sorry, tan hue. It's a tan hue sun. So the building side with the light showing right on it isn't going to be perfectly white. We're gonna push in that. I don't want an actual line there. I'm going for not so much the line and wash look. So once I get that done, I'll activate the shadow color under the eaves, and it'll run down and play into soften into the light colored building, the face of the building there. I'm pushing that shadow's a little aggressive there, wide, so I'm pushing the color back up into it. If you're wondering what brush I'm using, I just got these today really cheap. It was a set of Artify, I don't know, 12, set of 12, and I honestly don't remember what I did with the package. I'm going to do a review on them anyways. It comes in a nice case, like a fabric case, and the they're they say, I think it says pony hair or something on it. It's their watercolor set. They do an acrylic set and a hog bristle set. Uh, they're I mean they're cheap. But it's again me playing with the cheap brushes. It's very satisfying to find something that works just as good. Now this is a natural hair. They call it pony. It could be weasel. To me, it looks sable-like. So it could be weasel. It's hard to say, but it comes to a pretty good point. Um, they've also got in that set. There's a filbert. There's a bunch of shaders, flat wash brushes. There's a big, like I think it's an inch and a quarter or something like that, maybe an inch. A big flat wash brush that kind of looks like a house painting brush. Um, so yeah, I'll eventually do a review on those. I want to play with them first to see how bad they shed because it's like they almost always shed. Um, I expect it, and once you see them start to go, you just pick the loose hairs out, and eventually it either stops or the whole thing falls out. It's a $1 brush or $2 brush, but it gives you the same behavior as a $40 Kolinsky. Holds a lot of water and it doesn't dump it all at once on the paper. I'm trying to leave some holidays in here. I work for a house painter when I was in high school for a few summers, and whenever we would miss a spot somewhere, it was always called a holiday. Well, that sort of transferred over to this, and now it's like I want to intentionally leave holidays, skip over spots and leave, let the texture of the paper kind of show through and leave some bright spots here and there. Uh, because if you saturate the entire paper with color and you lose all your white spots, it ends up looking real cartoonish, which isn't. I mean, that's cool too. That's not a bad thing, but it's nice to have the variety of marks in your paper. Like, see there, I'm leaving a couple. Maybe I'll put a spot in the middle. I'll leave that one up there. I'm going to take, this is the shadow side of the building on this side anyway, so I'm going to take that darker uh, overall, but right now I'm just activating all the little, each individual pane of glass in these windows. And you don't have to be very precise with these. I mean, remember when you're painting them, unless you're trying to be just hyper realistic, a lot of this is, and I tend to go overboard with the details always. My goal is to imply some things. Like, this is sort of the focal point, this building, so I don't mind adding a lot of details here, but once I finish this, I'll go to the forest or whatever behind it, and all of a sudden I'm drawing each individual leaf and everything else, and by the time I'm done, I have this painting that's so busy all over, it's your eye doesn't want to try to just focus on one spot, so you lose your focal point. I mean, that's composition 101 stuff. There is to learn how to emphasize your focal point and imply the other pieces, so your brain is okay with, yep, that's trees, that's sky, that's water, whatever. But let's look at this building. So, and I mean, I've been composing and drawing and painting for, well, my whole life almost, really. Uh, I don't think I'm ever going to be like, yep, finally nailed it. It's going to be a learning process. I think it is for everybody, until we, go to the next place, because um, we can always be better. I'm just going through now and kind of trying to activate all of the places where I laid down color with the watercolor pencils. I'm still leaving some sketchy pencil marks here and there. But as I add more color, it'll add more texture to the page. So this is just the first pass, and learning how to layer these watercolor pencils, I think, is the only way that's going to make them successful to use for an entire composition. I thought about just using them with watercolor paint. I have to work on that. That's traveling up the wall too much. I thought about working with them with watercolor paint. Just lay down lines and then fill in and do the regular painting like what I'm comfortable with. Uh, but I'd rather learn how to use these tools, and that means a lot of layering, which is different than what I do with the Inktense and the Albert Durs, and the more expensive, highly pigmented watercolors. Sorry, watercolor pencils. Remember I said I wasn't going to yammer while I'm painting? Well, I guess I'm just practicing. The great thing about YouTube videos is you can take that little slider and go zip and skim around. And uh, one of the reasons that I'm doing this is I've had feedback from people that, I like it when you talk when you're doing stuff, explaining what you're doing, instead of just setting painting the picture with the top down view in this section over here and setting it at 8 by the speed and not worrying about how long it takes me to finish a painting. A lot of times these things will take me an hour. um, 2 hours sometimes. And if I speed that up to 8 by, then it's, an 8 minute video or 6 minute video. Uh, but you can't slow that down. If you do want to see details, a lot of times, my hands are doing like this, and you can't see what I'm doing. And some people want to be able to see that. So the people that think the video is too long, you can slide the little slider and fast forward it. But if I make them fast forwarded by nature, you can't slow it down. So what was my point? Oh, the yammering and the yeah. So I'm keeping it in real time and playing with that for a little while. I still like doing the speed paintings because then I don't have to sit here and waste talking my time and your time. I am gonna blow dry this a little bit. It's still damp and it's trying to buckle some. You see, I'm holding this paper while I'm drying. Um, when it was sitting flat, there was a big buckle in the middle of the building, and what I'm doing when I'm picking that paper up is forcing that buckle to go back down. So I've got a smooth surface, but it's a curve. And as I'm drying it out, it's going to tighten up on this side, and it's going to try to pull even more into a curve. And you'll see me doing this kind of thing a lot with my paintings when I'm working with paper. Um, it's because I've dried it and let it buckle upwards as the surface is dried, and then I'm kind of stretching it back out, getting the paper to relax, the face of the paper to relax. So I just wanted to say that why I do this when I'm blow drying sometimes is I'm physically taking the buckles and bubbles out of it, blow drying it, and then I'll restretch it later. All right, that's good enough. Yeah, this was actually supposed to be just a doodle, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to salvage it. I really wish I hadn't put these guys up here, these marks, because if I turn this into an ACEO, no, I guess I can still salvage that. Like I would normally probably go like that and try to get the building into like the no, you call it's not a quadrant because there's 9 of them. Okay, so quick thing about composition. If you take an ACEO like this, I'm going to do a smaller version over here so I don't waste paper. Uh, so here's the outside of your frame, and I mean that could be portrait or landscape. As far as focal points, a real quick first rule is you divide your paper into thirds, both directions, and let's see what we got there, about there and there. And this isn't like a hard and fast rule. So each one of these right here, this could be a focal point. So you put your building up here, you put your building down there, your building over here. Um, don't kind of put it right in the middle. So you'd end up with a thing like this where your focal point is right in the middle of the paper. It's not. It's the brain doesn't settle well with that. It's more interesting to have fluffy stuff around here and the focal point here, or vice versa. You see what I'm getting at. So when I'm running this thing around, uh, trying to look at where I'm going to put it, I could put it here. I highly recommend making one of these for yourself too. It's really nice when you've got a piece of paper like this. You can't, you're not really thinking composition. I mean, you could build a building here, building here, building here. You could turn this whole thing into a building, but um, then you would think about this whole paper, dividing it by thirds, and your focal point should be one of those cross section. Can be. I mean, it's not a rule. There's no really rules in art. Um, it's a rule that you can use to um, at least have a fighting chance of making a nice piece. Um, with this one, okay, so yeah, oh, and look what I did. So yeah, there's no wiping that. I could have got rid of the the watercolor pencil if I wanted to, but that's permanent ink. So we are going to go down this way with it, which is cool because that leaves me enough room down here to do another one. And again, I get miserly with my paper. I have thousands and thousands of sheets of paper around the studio. I don't need to, but it's just It's the my grandpa in me. He was a frugal man. So yeah, I'll do that. I think like that, and we'll make this a water scene or something, so I can put some water in around here, or the horizon line of the water at least could be back here, a couple of mountains or something in the back, some woods here, kind of a typical thing that I paint all the time. Um, yeah. So yeah, you know what? I'll do it now, so that way I don't accidentally screw up and do more of these boxes and encroach on my ACEO. So by putting this is a Uniball. I don't know if it's the Vision. I got a bunch of them, different kinds. Uh, it's a Uniball Deluxe Micro. Uh, Almost all of the Uniball uh, pens use what they call their, I think it's their super ink or something. Waterproof, fade proof, acid free, archival. It gets into the fibers of the paper, and I mean, it's there forever. Hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I lost an opportunity. Well, I'll just make it a dark foresty part back there. That'll contrast the building. Uh, but yeah, do you see now the focal point is in that upper quadrant, like up here in this section. So quick composition tangent. Where are we at now? 47 minutes on this section of the video. I'm okay with that. This will go pretty quick once I stop yammering about other things. So what we're gonna do. So this building in the back here is just a build out, and we'll call it an open shop or something in there. We'll put a we'll put a workbench or something in there. I think we'll put some stairs. That's a pretty aggressive stair. Yeah, some steps coming down on the path. That gets us from that elevation down to here where the water is going to be. Uh, Water. Anyway, we're going to use the deep ochre to sort of line out where's the water going to be here. We don't want it up too close to the building because that's not super realistic. If it's any sort of a lake, it'll be, prone to flooding, and even here is pretty close to the building. And this could be a mill. It could be a little boathouse or something, fishing cabin. That's an awfully big fishing cabin. I would say something like a mill. And you. Oh, I broke my blue black. That was the blue black I broke. All right. Isn't that back there? That'll be a rock here. Just kind of going through and adding some interest in the shoreline here, and we're going to have a hard that way. That rock will be light colored, so we're going to need some reflection. A little bit of that in there to darken it up. All right, we're going to now block in some of this stuff back here behind the building. Want that nice and dark to help that building pop out of there a little bit. Now this will be the shade on the underside of some trees, maybe. And then we'll put some, what is that color? Deep ochre. Put some deep ochre on the ground. Coming out of there, we got our steps. Shadow from the building. run across this way. Oh, wait, no, this is part of the front, part of the shadow of the building too. Yeah, an aggressive shadow on the local front of that building there. Well, see, and that's there again. It's one of the kind of the nice things about these being weak pencils. I thought, like with a Durer, that would have been just black when I activated it, but this just sort of fades away into a gray. I think I even washed away part of the door. This is the first pass of the cast shadow from the building. Now, I'm not sharpening this just yet. I don't know if it's more economical. If I sharpened it, I would have a point that I could possibly break again. So I'm using my nub there uh, while I'm just blocking things in. Now, granted, by doing that, I'm just going to wear it down, and then I'll have to sharpen it even farther to get back to it. So I don't know if it's economically, if it's a saver or not, but that's what my thinking is. Yeah, so we're going to go horizontal with these boards up here. These ones are coming straight down, and they are in front. An overlay on the lower boards. I'll put some more details of things in there. That looks like a nice little rock right there. Rock obscure in the front of the building. Look at this. Now, when I'm dipping in the water and coming back over, I've got a paper towel pile here that I'm stopping off at and dabbing a good bit of the water off of this. I don't want to flood this area, but I also don't want to sit there and scrub it with a dry brush and not effectively activate the pigment. There again, I'm trying to. You can see a little bit in the window frame around this window. There's well, the holidays that we talked about. It's kind of a white spot there that has no color. I'm really going to try to start preserving that now. Um, pick a few spots that look nice, natural, and leave them alone. Try to stay off of them with your washes and your pencil. I'm just adding some texture here and there. It's an old building, but it's got good bones. We're gonna put some other colors in there too. We'll get the tan hue back out. I don't want it to be all blue black back here. It is a natural wood building. And here again, my instinct is to draw every board. Like if I was building it, I'd want it to look perfect. Uh, but in reality, after a building is sat for a while like this, you're gonna have weird boards, shrunken boards, missing boards. Like for instance, right here, if I widen that line that I just put in and skip a little bit, make another line right up to there. That now looks like there's a missing board there, and this dark color is what's inside the building. Uh, at least that's the thought. steps and just suggesting those. I'm not putting anything in stone yet. This is one of the things that I love about watercolor is, you can plan all you want, uh, but once you start splashing water around it, it'll do what it wants. Is that Mike Tyson that said you can have the best plan in the world right up until you get smacked in the face, and watercolor will definitely smack you in the face. Yeah. One of my cables just flopped down. It's hanging in my way. All right, now I'm going to activate carefully this dark area that I put back there. And I want to keep it pretty dark. So I'm not gonna pull a lot of color off of it. Again, leaving some white of the paper back here. I'm going to build those trees out. So what I'm doing is kind of pre-adding some mottled shadow. Yeah, I need to get some more color on there. And bear in mind at this point, I've only used 2 colors with a little bit of the third, the ochre, for around this shoreline and this back here. This is just the tan hue, the dark brown, and the dark blue. Payne's gray kind of a looking color. But what I'm trying to do right now is add uh, color changes, texture changes, but also keep the tone even and darker than the face over here. Uh, and this is, like I was saying, with these watercolors, they're not very dark. Or sorry, these watercolor pencils, they're not very dark or pigmented. So this is where the layering, you got to take some extra time to go back through with several layers to achieve that effect. At the end of the painting, what's gonna suggest that this is the shadow side is the contrast between the face where the sun's shining down on and the shadow side. That line right here is what's going to suggest that this is the dark side of the building. Just notice that my windows are not lined up there, but I do not care that much. Okay, there's a part of me that cares about that a lot, and it's going a little bit nuts right now, but I'm trying to stifle that. Yeah, paper's kind of soaking through there. I need to dry it out. It's got some buckles. They're not terrible buckles, but they need to go away. I'm using my hand to flatten it as I dry it. It didn't want to. There we go. Now that I've done that, I can pick it up and get the face to dry and shrink. And even though this is I'm just drying the back a little bit too. Even though this is an ACEO, uh, 2.5 by 3.5 inches, um, you still, I mean, it's kind of the same number of marks and such that you would do on a, larger piece. Uh, Maybe that's not true with watercolor pencils because when you're painting, at this level, I'm using this tiny brush. I use a bigger piece of paper. I just get a bigger brush, whereas you're not getting bigger colored pencils. So yeah, I guess for this one, for doing watercolor pencils or colored pencils, is that's where it gets tedious. Wow, that thing is just chewing up my pencils. I fuddled around with this, and I wonder if I didn't throw something off in there because it seems like they're really wanting to chew through now. Okay, that one butted up and stopped. No, I don't got anybody else. Nope. All right. So we're getting some good contrast there. This is at this point it's kind of an overcast day. I'd really like to get a little more God, there with the tip. I'd like to get a little more darkness here, and I'm kind of keeping the. You see, the build out is a little more of the brown color, and this is a little more of the dark blue color. I'm trying to keep this separation right here. This is the original building, and then this is the build out that was maybe added later or using cheaper, different materials or something because it's just basically a work shed back there. So I'm keeping the colors a little different, but I want to take them down uh, the same value, uh, color value. So even though one's blue, one's brown, they're both the same level of darkness on the shadow side of this building here. So, I mean, this is where you can start really scruffing in some details of the stuff that's around. I think it was yesterday when I said that normally I wouldn't yesterday, the first part of the video, I wouldn't normally draw in the bottom of a building because it's very rarely will you ever see the bottom of a board as a straight line or anything. You're gonna have weeds growing up. You're gonna have rocks, piles of bushes, whatever. Uh, I don't want to forget that this is my door there, and I've got a door here. This door also going to have a couple of steps because that would be an awfully tall door if it went all the way down. Yeah, I've got some. The face of this building right here needs to be white, so I'm gonna scrub that back a little bit. This is one of the brushes that came with this set. It's nylon. It's soft, but I think it'll be a good way to scrub the paper without doing too much damage and get some of that color off the face. And I might actually do that. I'm gonna get a little scrap of paper towel to blot with. Come on now. Want a little more contrast between the face of this building, the sunny face, and the shadow on this side. So I'm going to take some of this color off right here too. Yeah, that lifts okay. Across here as well. Lighten that up some. You gotta be careful scrubbing like this because once you disturb the sizing or pull the sizing off the face of the page, uh, you'll start getting into the wood fibers and ripping them up, or the cotton fibers. Uh, but this, one of the reasons I really like this Arteza um, mixed media pad, it's the sizing on it is incredibly tough. It takes watercolor washes really well without soaking in and turning into toilet paper, like like a wet paper would do. Just playing with this brush. This is the first time I've used it. The one that came with the set. Actually, it's a pretty decent brush. I mean, it's just horrendously cheap. Handle is short and dinky, um, but the nylon is actually it's a nice little. This would be a good brush for like flicking grasses and things. I don't know if you can see. Mm, It's not a it's not a real thick brush at all. So, yeah, this is one of those ones that can become a specialty brush that you fall in love with and you can't replace once it dies because they're just it was an accident the way it was made. Meh. So I'm getting fiddly with it. This is the blue black, but it feels like it's getting really short. It sure is. Kind of reasserting these window shapes here and lowering them a bit. Defining that edge. Heading into the shadow. Doing the same thing here. And I again need to scrub some color away from the top of that building, or the deck, as you want to call it, I guess. Square that up a little bit. When I come back and do the final passes, detail passes, I'll square this up. That took it a little far, but I'll push that shadow up a little bit there. Wet this down some. All right, I'm gonna add a little detail. I forgot when the paper gets wet, these get really slimy. All right, so this was the door wet. So yeah, the need to layer these pencils kind of requires that you use a tough paper. I'm trying to even up that. It's a little blotchy over here right now. Trying to even that up some without going completely dark. And I am taking this. I mean, this is getting dark here. I need to compensate for the add some equivalent darkness to the cast shadow. I'm going to give this one last pass with activating the pigment, and then I'm going to quit futzing with it because it's going to turn into a muddy mess if I keep messing with it. All right, now I'm going to add some cast shadow and some details up here on the roof. Going to give that some good contrast in that shadow there that's underneath that eave and also under this deck. This is one of the small brushes from that set of Nick Pro brushes. Ooh, man. Synthetic just dumps its water all over the place. I gotta be careful about that. I know it's interesting filming your work instead of just constantly staring at it. I can look up at the screen in front of me and kind of get a different perspective of what I'm looking at. A lot of people will look at their building upside down or look at it in a mirror too, their painting, and it helps to kind of spot some irregularities. A lot of times I can look up in the screen there and I can see some things wrong that I wouldn't normally see looking down on it like this. So that's added benefit to filming your work. We're going to add a kind of a wooden box or something here just to break up the monotony a little bit. Keep breaking the tips on these. It didn't feel like I was pushing too hard, but there again, that's just getting used to your tools. I could have had a little more patience with that, I think. All right, up here, we're gonna. What I'm doing there is just kind of throwing in some colors. Sometimes you work on an area so long it starts feeling like you're just sort of stagnating, and trying to remember that this is the shadow side, so I want to keep some darks in here. When I start feeling like there's too much water on my brush, that's when I pull off to the side and just kind of use the paper as a blotter rather than going over to my paper towels. And here again, I don't want to get too involved in the details. I just want to infer that that's, trees back there. I believe I am going to use some white gouache at the end of this just to pick out some highlights here and there. I'll get better as I use these. I'll get better at not clobbering the white where I don't want to. And since I'm using, mixed media pad, I might as well do a mixed media painting. Watercolor pencils, is that a painting or is it a drawing? Long brush. But we're just going to leave that kind of a random mechanical kind of a shape and let people decide for themselves what that is. All right, now that we know where the shoreline is, we're going to be able to add some definition here, definition and highlights. I don't want to have a real bright blue sky up here. Because a lot of the colors that I've ended up with in here suggests a little more of a dreary day, but I do want some blue up there. Nope. Oh, that's my indigo. That might be okay. Oh no, that's a maybe like phthalo. Yeah. It's all right. I start out with my pencils. I try to keep them organized, but they just end up tripping over each other. And all right, let's get sky activated and see what we're looking at. I'm activating the pigment and then I'm kind of pulling it away from the building so it's not all built up in that corner. Kind of using the sky to define the edge of the building some. And like I say, I think I'm gonna go back with a little bit of gouache whitewash and add some highlights there. Ooh, I'm getting some of my rust color up in the sky. I don't want that. At least not there. I want to preserve some of the white in the water here. There's a reflection of that face. Or sorry, the face of the house or building, I guess. Get that out of there. Yeah, the face of the building comes down here, so I'm going to kind of stop the watercolor at that point. The water, the color of the water. The rock up here. Paper's damp. It's not taking doesn't want to take this last layer. So in the distance back there, I want to add, I don't know, maybe a tree line or something. But, and I would probably lean toward this green, but it's also in the distance. And if the sky is going to be a pale blue like that, then you're going to get some atmosphere. So I'll put in a little green, but then I'm going to also add some of this indigo light here and add some blue to it to kind of take it back into the distance, keep it back there. I don't want to lose the definition between my water line, that distant shore. Light. Ooh, God, that's not the color I want. Where's my tan hue? Want to neutralize some of that blue. It's pretty ridiculous. Paper's awfully wet right there. Yeah, I don't want to end up overdoing the water, but the whole thing's getting a little overworked right now. I'm gonna leave a little of that sketchiness, maybe add a window, add some of that door there. Wow, nothing on my brush. happy with that rock reflection. It's a little too big. And we're going to change the color of that rock. Add some ochre to it. Just separate it from the water a little bit. Matter of fact, we're going to ochre up all these guys. So the edge of the building comes down there. Ouch. There's another tip. All right, we are going to put in some birds there. I'm going to finish my door. A red door. Door feels tall. No, I guess not. Ooh, that's a lot of red. I want to define the shoreline a little more. Define these shapes. That rock should be darker. And the shadows. Whoa. Big old water splash on me. All right, not happy with the It's such a terrible feeling when you're coloring and you can almost feel the tip wanting to break, and then it does, and it's a little kind of a jarring feeling. I went back to green back here. We'll make it a closer shore. A couple of trees added in. Reflection. Man, waxy stuff when it's wet. Well, I wonder how well I could. That white reflection is too short. Pull it all the way up to the end. All right, I need to detail the. We'll make a brown rail, huh? Makes it easier. Wow, that just crumbled right off of there. Not the kind of place where you want to lose the ability to make detail. I'm not sure what happened to that lead, but it felt like it just crumbled on itself. This is find the bottom of the deck a little bit. Sharpen this corner right there. Sharpen that corner there. Sharpen that up some. Fix the spine a little. The chimney sort of disappeared into nothing, but that's all right. I've got to wrap this up. It's getting to the point where I'm just going to fiddle it. It's already half fiddled to death, but um, he says as he keeps fiddling. I got a bird in my way there. Otherwise, let's see. What can I do? We gotta have a rail over here too. Maybe off of this rail. This is where our post will come up. Well, it could have been straighter. Yeah, it's an old building. Need to fix the vent up here a little bit. More definition, more shadow. Window. More definition. All right, so I'm going to sharpen this to get a good point on it. Joys of not having enough room on your bench. Stop breaking. Now, you would think that one of the benefits of being kind of weakly pigmented is that the leads would be a little stronger. You would be mistaken. Couple of interest lines here and there. Stop crumbling. What was that? That's like I hit a air pocket in the middle of the lead or something. That's right, I'll leave this nice dark spot there. Hmm. All right. All right, well, that got a little darker than I wanted it to. We are gonna, what are we gonna do? We're gonna break out the, hey, I found the brush set. It was sitting right there. So this is the set of Artify brushes that I got. I'll do a review on that later, but that's the one with these yellow handles. It's a nice little set, 10 pieces. Got some good sized brushes in there, and they are, doesn't say. They're pony, or it's a natural hair, real soft natural hair. What we're gonna do, squish that. This is Turner Acrylic Wash. It's acrylic. It's an acrylic wash, so it dries. It dries to a real matte finish. You can use, regular wash for this too. What the hell was I doing? Oh, that's what I was gonna do. Well, I put an enormous blob of this stuff on there. Not necessary. I am gonna put a post. This is another one of those Artify brushes that I'm using the it's the shader, I think. Yeah, flat shader. And I'm using the edge like a blade to put in a couple of white posts. And I'll put in a little bit of a white soffit across there. Come on. Stuff dries awfully fast. A little white post. We look. Oh, good lord. White reflection. Wow, that is hard to get any sort of a. It dries up so fast that you can't get any action out of it before it. Really? You're gonna get all clumpy now? The brush is shedding. Ugh. Rolling down. So I'm just trying to pick out some highlights here and there. Really hard. This brush keeps trying to clump up. We're going to add a little bit of water to that. That'll help flow a little bit. I'm not talking too much. I'm kind of holding my breath here. That got aggressive. And then I look up into the monitor, and this stark white is just way too much. But I can fix that by fiddling more. That's what I need, is more fiddling. Step, 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 step. All right. I'm going to take this and stick it in that and put it in the garbage. Or I put my elbow in it or whatever. All right. Good. Okay, one last pass with the fiddlies to try and knock some of that white down a little bit. Leave that white, but I need some shadow underneath. Break. I'm just toning down the white a little bit on the shadow side. We're going to add some grass and miscellaneous. Put a little bush right there. Put a bush here. Grassy patch going up into the bushes there. All right, we'll get our signal red back out and add some little red flowers. Some happy flowers. I'm turning into Bob Ross for a second. Happy little flower with our busy, overworked building. Nah, whatever, you get the idea. And I don't like that white rock right there. A little too white. That guy. That one's fine. Just the water up a little bit. Oops, a lot of brown to add to the water right there. Mix some of that away. Still got that sticky wash up there. Okay. One. Got a little more color up there in the sky. I don't want to mess with my birds too much. I suppose I can re-add them. They're not irreplaceable. All right, if I don't quit messing with it, it's going to become more of a disaster than it already is. So I'm going to stop coloring there. So we've got the, that's the watercolor pencils. Like I say, I've had a long way to go to practice with them to feel like I'm mastering them. This is kind of a busy nightmare. I still like it. It's not nearly as clean as I would do with like a regular watercolor paint, but I've had a lot more practice with that. What I'm gonna do is show you one more little cool trick. Just out of the way. All right, I'm gonna go spray this with fixative. I will be right back. All right, I sprayed that with fixative, and when I did that, I noticed that the fixative activated the watercolor pencils. Um, that's not something I've seen before with my other brands, so I'm not sure what's going on in there. If they've got some sort of a shellac in there or something, but yeah, that was a little interesting. You can see how my little fence post things there turned kind of pink. The surrounding color just sort of, it's like the top layer just skimmed over. It's almost like a glaze happened. Um, so yeah, we'll roll with it. But I want to show you one more thing real quick. He's talking about recycling paper. This is a piece of this is Strathmore Imperial 500. It's expensive paper, really nice paper. Um, so I used it for swatching just to check. This is the Cotman 12s. I got a bunch. I got a bunch of these, and most all of them except for one or two, I pulled all of the Cotman paint out. But these ones, or this one, I pulled the half pans out of the little holes and then knock the paint out, and I was able to take two of the cakes and stuff them back into the hole. And I got rid of the white that this comes with, and I added my own little Payne's gray mixture. I think it's probably, yeah, it's Prussian blue and quinacridone violet. Yeah, it makes a nice little Payne's gray. But yeah, be able to smash two cakes of cotton in there. I've got a bunch of these guys, and I was just testing out some different colors. That's the Cotman. This one is Art Whale. And this is my Daniel Smith Essentials set. And I just wanted to kind of compare all of them. And, the two cheapies are pretty good. Uh, but, I don't like losing paper. So I'm going to take this and mount it on here. But before I can do that, I got to prep this. I don't want it, I don't want these watercolors to come through this paper at any point. So I'm gonna wash over them and get them muddied up and into, like all the same color. And so, the reason I'm mounting it too, or another reason is, yeah, this is flimsy sketchbook paper. I mean, it's 110 pounds. It's pretty decent, but it's not a nice thick heavyweight watercolor paper. So I got most of the excess color off there. The rest of that's kind of stained on there. And then I'll do a seal coat with any particular acrylic. I'm just using this Apple Barrel Craft stuff. It works pretty good. Because I got the paper wet, the fibers are opened up. This will soak into it really nicely now. And the polymer will provide a barrier uh, so the watercolor paint doesn't come sucking through that paper when I mount it. And using a colored acrylic like this actually, it evens up the background some, so when you look at it in the light, it won't be quite so splotchy looking, like an obvious swatch page. There's an idea. Let's get stuff out of my way. This is King's Gold, Apple Barrel King's Gold, and it's actually a really pretty color, but not when you mix it with a bunch of greens and blues. That is turning into baby poop. But that's okay. It'll all be covered up. So I got that on there. Soaked in good. I'm gonna go ahead and dry the paper and get that polymer to set. And see how the face of the paper is swollen. That's why it's buckled this direction. And as I dry it out, that polymer is going to shrink and it'll actually go concave instead of convex. But I don't need to dry it out all the way. I just want to get it to the point where it's not slopping around. And then we're going to put a layer on the back too real quick, just to seal that up. That'll keep the paper from moving so much both directions. Uh, um, by sealing this, when I put water on the face, it's not going to, it won't let it buckle as much because both sides are now sealed inside. They're not going to be affected by humidity as much. You can see how by getting this backside wet, it's expanding, and now it's gonna buckle the other direction since the face is now dry, or mostly dry. That's why a lot of time when you're painting with watercolor paper, you'll see people stretch it and staple it and flip it and angle it, uh, because when you get new watercolor paper and if it's dry, you add water to the face expands, but the back doesn't. So the face swells up, and that's when you get the buckles. Um, all you got to do is wet the back of it first, because then the back will swell evenly with the face, and you won't have any buckles. It'll just expand uh, in a uniform manner. I don't ever. I do use like on 11 by 15. I'll use a clip or something here or there. But if I want to stop buckling, I'll just spray the back down with water before I put it on my whatever board I'm having to use, and it doesn't buckle through the middle of it. People spend a lot of money on watercolor blocks, and there's not necessary. All right, so now both sides are covered in polymer, sealing the paper inside. I'm going to use, let's see, I'm going to cut this out first. All this extra paper. I want to do it that way. Yeah. I was thinking I could cut this out and smash it down on the back of the paper, but I don't want to put my finished piece down on this half damp paper towel and get it boogered up with color. I'm leaving a little excess around the edge of where the final cut's going to be, because I don't want to try to cut it all the way down and then get a good seal. I'm going to end up with acrylic over the top of it, which I'm going to seal it with acrylic varnish anyways. But so yeah, I'm just going to laminate it down, mount it, what they call it, with paper. This is kind of an Eastern type of thing. A lot of times you'll see it with rice paper over the top of fabric or something like that. They'll mount it with the glue that they use, like a flower. So I'm not going to use the traditional flower. I'm going to use, this is Sargent acrylic matte medium. This stuff is I think it's like $10 for 16 ounces, which is fantastic. This stuff is $7.50 for 8 ounces. And then you start getting into things like this. This is, I don't know, $25 or something. It's crazy. Uh, this stuff actually makes a pretty nice finish. It's a little on the milky side, but as an adhesive, like this sort of a thing for mounting, it works really good. It's acid free. I'm sure that ew, my brush is gross. I'm sure that Elmer's glue, would work really well too, but I don't know how that's going to behave in 50 years, so I don't use it for that. It would probably be fine. Or who knows, in 50 years it could turn into some space age acid thing and eat your eat your painting up. All right, I brush relatively clean, and I'm just gonna put an even coat on here. You got to kind of work fast with this stuff because it's an acrylic, so it dries quickly. Um, I don't mind if the paper's still a little damp, but this, with the blow dryer, I cleaned it out pretty good. Wow, I got a little aggressive with the goo, but that's okay. Better not to starve the joint like in woodworking. You want enough to squeeze out to the edges. Get rid of all that stuff. Put that over there. All right. Yeah. I'm just leaving that dry, lining up my little register marks there. Now this is the tricky part. Um, push down and squeegee it out from the center, but then don't come back in with your fingers because I'm going to get covered with acrylic and I don't want to put that same finger back on there. So I'll use a different finger. And then on this side, same deal. Squeegee it out. Push it down. Paper's buckling because the front side is sealed and the back side is not. So the back side is expanding. This would probably be better to do before I put the fixative on, because then the paper can expand evenly. But the glue will do its job here in a second. I'm making sure that I'm using clean fingers every time I swipe. Even though I've got that fixative on there, I don't want to end up with a bunch of globby acrylic on the top until I'm ready to varnish it. Yeah. All right, we're gonna clean this off because that's just gonna get all over the place. Do a messy Marvin over here. All right, that is doing quite nicely. Kind of stretching both pieces of paper a little bit just to kind of flatten it and normalize it from front to back. Wet acrylic on my scissors there. Here, I'm going to get rid of this because yuck. I really should put my trash can next to my desk instead of way back behind me there. Not an efficient setup. That is getting pretty solid. Heat it up with the hair dryer. That'll help cure it. All right. What are we going to call this? Now with since I've got those layers of acrylic now between the final piece and the backing, I'm just going to use a pen to write in the image information, picture information, uh, instead of a pencil, just because this is permanent ink. And we're going to call this the Jenkins. What is that? The Jenkins Mill. Yeah, those Jenkins, they are hardworking people. Um, what is the day? Today is March 11th. And this is Kalour Watercolor Pencil on paper mounted to wa watercolor paper, whatever. All right, good enough. So, and I got that on there. That is permanent ink, but it stays wet for a minute, so I'm gonna hit it with hair dryer. And I'm gonna cover it with some varnish. Yeah. Cleaning this brush 14 times. I've had this brush for I don't know how many years, like 10 years, and it was also a cheap Chinese set, a nylon, just crap brush. Not, I mean, it's been a good brush, um, but it's yeah, it's staying strong, and it's great for doing this kind of stuff. Just slopping some varnish around. This Joe Sonia varnish, I'm really impressed with. I got it off Amazon. I like Joe Sonia's stuff. No, I didn't get it off Amazon. I got it from I get it from Jerry's or Blick. Jerry's, I think. Both places carry it at the same price. Uh, it stinks. It's got a chemical smell to it, even though it's a water-based polyurethane. It definitely has. It's I can't tell if it's a thinner or what it is, but it's got a chemical smell to it. Uh, but it does a great job. It's a nice matte finish, a real tough surface. They say it's good for indoor and outdoor. When I blow dry it, I can get the you can watch the sheen just disappear as it dries. It's getting hot on my fingers. Oh. But that was a thick coat I put on there, and it's with a nice matte finish now. Good thick coat, protective coat. So, what I do normally with watercolors is put a coat of the golden polymer UVLS gloss and then a coat of this stuff. But I put that fixative on pretty thick, and it got real frisky with the watercolor pencil. Sorry, I'm working out there's a little lumpy thing in there that I got to work out and get it to stick together. So, all right. So yeah, on the back now, I mean that's permanent ink underneath, permanent varnish, and on the front, also going to add a layer of this. I'm going to skip the UVLS stuff. I don't want to. I don't think it needs it. So I'm going to try to get this on there quick. With the smell of this stuff, it makes me curious whether or not it will, if it's going to try to lift that fixative that I sprayed on there, because it does smell caustic, like a solvent smell almost. Well, it doesn't seem to be loosening anything up and moving it around. Yeah, good enough. Hey, we're well over the 2 hour mark. You're still here. Thanks for hanging in. This will definitely be my longest video that I've made yet. Got to try these things, right? Sure. Oh, so let's try to. It's the matte finish from that stuff is about as matte as you can get. It's got just a slight, not even a satin sheen, it's like an eggshell sheen to it. Uh, but it feels great. It unifies all the stuff. I've got the gouache on there. It was a little lumpy. It just unifies the whole surface and makes it look like it was, a printout. Um, you still get some brush marks, and sometimes when I use like my guitar pick to scrape things out of the paint, little rocks or something, it'll leave an indentation. You'll still be able to see those, so you can see, tell that it's hand painted. But I've done so much to this paper, I do want to check the dimensions before I cut it out, just to make sure that it didn't get wonky. Uh, nope, it's good enough. A lot of times the paper will stretch and warp, and my original rectangle that I traced on there ends up getting a little silly. But this will work. Well, that's tough stuff. That between the top paper and the bottom paper and the polymer between it, that's like cutting leather. It's another time when I hold my breath here. We're making these cuts. It's easy sometimes for the scissors to want to kind of drift off one way or the other. No, I mean you can see how strong this stuff is. I find able to rip a piece of it, but it's tough stuff when it's like that, and it gets stronger. That acrylic between the two pieces of paper is still not cured all the way. Um, Tomorrow this piece will, I mean, it'll feel like a little piece of wood. It'll be so strong. Um, so the last little detail, I like to do this on the edges. How does this square thing roll like that? It just cleans up the edges of the painting, kind of gives it, if you imagine it a larger canvas, it's like putting black around the edge of a museum mount um, canvas. I almost drug my marker across the front of that, which I have done before. All this work, you get to the end and whoops. So overall, it's a lot of fun. These are good. They're good watercolor pencils. They're a lot of work. That's not. I don't think that's a whole bunch different than expensive watercolor pencils. Like when I'm using my other ones, I end up getting real fiddly. This painting I could have done in watercolor, uh, in 20 minutes, half an hour, uh, easily, and that's with a sketch. But they're fun. You can take them. You don't have to have a water brush or anything with you if you don't need to. You can sketch it in a sketchbook and come back later to the studio and activate the pigments. Uh, I don't find colored pencils to be real uh, portable. You got a big wad of crap like this out in the field, you're dropping them all over the place. Now, if you're just taking a brown and a blue or something, uh, and doing sketches that way. That's not so bad, but as far as watercolor pencils go, these are the same as Arteza, and they're, gosh, a third the price right now, almost a third. Um, no, well, it's less than half. I don't want to do any more math. It's Friday. So thanks for sticking around with me. Leave some, suggestions, comments, questions. If you have any questions about the brushes or anything that I'm using or how I do stuff, the mounting process, um, I love to answer questions. And subscribe to the channel. I do weird stuff. I'm still kind of, well, I'm probably going to be figuring out exactly what it is that we do here for a long time. But in the meantime, I'm trying to have some fun and maybe do things a little differently than the average bear. Um, so yeah, thanks for hanging in, and hit the like button. Don't smash it, please. Everybody says smash the like button. Don't do that. My like button is fragile. All right, take care.